A successful education includes many elements, such as spiritual renewal, character development, and basic skills. These are essential to living an effective, enjoyable life. But there is also the element of feasting. This is the idea that exploring and learning about our world and our environment is not just a part, but the most fun part of a child's education, and one with God's approval. 1 Timothy 6:17 says, "Instruct those who are rich in the present age not to be conceited and not to put their hope in the uncertainty of wealth, but in God, who richly provides all things for us to enjoy." In this passage, we find the word richly, which means abundantly, copiously. This tells us that God is no stingy miser, as the devil and our shriveled minds want us to believe, but he enjoys blessing us right here in this physical reality, which he created, by the way, and called good. Ephesians 3:20 shows us this clearly. "Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us." What a big heart our Heavenly Father has. We don't serve a bean-counting God, but a God of much more. And this is the joy, pleasure, and enthusiasm we bring when we embark on a journey of seeking and discovering with our children. History and the sciences and the arts and just about anything you can think of are included in this. And they're all seen through the lens of God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. Okay, in case you don't know me, I'm Sherry Hayes. I'm the very interesting mommy of 15 children. I've been homeschooling for over 36 years, and I love blessing mommies with stuff they can use. So this podcast is not going to be filled with fluff, and I'm not going to show you the latest and greatest because, there are some really good stuff that's come out. And if you want to use it, you're totally welcome to do that. But I like to expose some of the old stuff, some of the stuff that's tried and true, some of the things you can get and use that aren't expensive. Yeah. And I don't get a commission, and that's fine with me. I love it that way. So you can trust what I say. Anyway, so let's dive into the subject. This will be kind of a podcast, but it'll be a lot of visual elements that you'll want to see because I'm going to be showing you. See this stack? That's only like a fifth of the books that I want to show you today. Anyway, when we adopt this attitude of abundance, we see that 12 years are not enough to study everything we want to know. So instead of trying and failing and becoming all-encompassing, we do 3 important things. These are 3 important things I've learned. Number 1, we provide a lens seeing all through God, the gospel of peace, right? Number 2, we develop tastes for higher things. Now, the taste development is very important. Number 3, we teach our children how to learn on their own because they're going to keep expanding, keep learning far beyond the years that we have with them, right? Now let's talk about how to go about these 3 elements. As for number 1, we begin by teaching our children the whole Bible. Now, it doesn't mean we have them memorize the entire book. It means they come to realize the overall themes of the Word of God. They understand our origins and our purpose. They can begin to comprehend the heart of God, which is incomprehensible, right? And His efforts to bring about His kingdom, which is a kingdom of blessing and wonderfulness. They also have examples of reaping the consequences of rebellion and sin, which is important, and the need for surrender and redemption. As they delve more deeply into the history of mankind, they will see the narratives of the Bible played out over and over again, and instead of just a jumbling of random actions and wars, they will see a grander purpose. When we examine number 2, there is a responsibility implied. Now, what is number 2? Number 2 is we develop tastes for higher things. Okay, so there is a responsibility implied. At least when our children are young and under our direct care, we are responsible for the intellectual and spiritual food they intake just as much as we are responsible for the food they take into their bodies, right? Like if you fed your kids candy all day, you'd have a sickly child. You'd have a child that was malnourished, and they wouldn't do it, and they would get sick more easily and all kinds of awful things, right? Okay. We must shield them from information which would be inappropriate, and we must be careful to feed their minds with only the best of information, literature, art, music, philosophy, and everything else, right? I'm sure you all agree with that. I'm sure you agree with that easily. As they grow in understanding, they should be gradually loosed to have a wider array of information from which they will learn to glean the best and eschew the rest, right? Get the good, spit out the bad. But if we have done our job well, and if they are so inclined, they will have had their tastes developed so they will naturally gravitate to what is true and noble. See, that's good. Now, in number 3, which is we teach our children how to learn on their own, right? We find that we are to work ourselves out of a job. This is done by learning right alongside our children. When we are studying ancient Babylon, for instance, we are right there reading the material with our children and even doing some of the exercises, which is fun, such as writing a fictional story about a child living in that culture, or drawing a picture of what we think the Hanging Gardens of Babylon would have looked like. Remember, that's one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, but we don't have any pictures of it. We just have some descriptions. So that would be kind of fun to draw for an activity. And we'll go over that, more of that in subsequent videos. We'll talk about ways you can like put this into schoolish kind of terms for, people who look in on you, right? When we come to a topic that interests us, now that's ourselves and our children, we happily skip down the rabbit hole and grab all the reference materials we can find and search it out further. So we're studying about Babylon, and we're studying the Hanging Gardens, and we're going, wait, what are these other 7 wonders of the ancient world? Let's talk about those. And so we'll dig into those for a while, and that's so much fun, isn't it? Okay, we may end up in an entirely different place than when we started, but who cares? The process and the learning adventure is what counts. Okay. And our children will never forget the pleasant experience. It will etch in their beings the connection between learning and pleasure, and they will be hooked. Of course, in order to do all these things, we must have tools. Ask me how I know. I have raised 15 children now under this, and I'm telling you what, not a one of them isn't hooked on learning stuff on their own all the time. Okay. Of course, in order to do all these things, we must have tools. Some of them will come from textbook publishers, but most will not. This is because most textbooks concerning content are about as dry as toast. You can glean some information and perhaps some structure from them. That's helpful. But in general, they are lifeless and tasteless. And we all know this all too well, don't we? The best books carry the enthusiasm of the author and bring you deeply into the subject. These are what Charlotte Mason called living books. And if you want to find out about, there's stuff all over the internet about what constitutes a living book. And we'll be talking about a lot of those today. Okay. I have gathered some stacks, and I'm talking stacks of living books here in front of me for examples, but there are about as many possible books as there are people. So in some respects, it's more about knowing what to look for in a book than specific titles. But I can give you some general ideas, and you can, I'll talk about some specific publishers and maybe even some authors that will be helpful, but you're going to discover things on your own that are going to be, superior to some of these maybe. So, be on the lookout, right? I expect this will take up quite a lot of time, this podcast or video or whatever you want to call it, as I have gathered so much. Therefore, in the next video, we can go over some strategies of how to turn these materials into schoolwork that you can keep as a physical proof of your learning for yourself, for those who are outside, and your children as memory keepers. So let's dive into the books. First stack of books I would like to show you are Christian, private school textbooks. And the reason I introduced these are, pretty dry reading, but they do offer reference material, and they also help educate us as mommies if we're not used to having a biblical worldview. These books will help us align things in a different sort of way, to see that God is in charge of everything, and that, to see God through the timeline of history. And it also works as a spine, like if you're trying to fit in a whole bunch of different biographies and different historical novels, and you want to fit it in a timeline of history, this will help you do that, and then kind of gather information to make it a whole thing. This is from Bob Jones University. This is a biology textbook. I believe this is from Christian Liberty Press. It's an older one. You can get these off of eBay for pretty cheap, and it'll just give you some interesting information. You can go on rabbit trails down the deep hole and just find yourself all different places. This is Streams of Civilization. This is an older copy. And this is like volume 1, this is volume 2. You can find newer versions of this, and this just helps you with the timeline of history as well from a Christian perspective. So that's the first set of books I wanted you to notice. Now I'll give you the second one. These are the politically incorrect guides to different things like American history. Here's Western civilization, socialism, English and American literature, and the 60s. They have other titles. But basically, it gives you a different perspective of these, the treatment of these, rather than what our public school system, our secular, humanistic public school system has presented them to us as we grew up. And then if we read these, then we'll be better able to help our children navigate all these different subjects from a Christian perspective. So I think those are pretty important. So one of the first things I wanted to show you were the old book sets. Do you see these? They're really, really cool. This right here is the Golden Treasury of Knowledge. This is My Book House. It's got all kinds of literature in it. This is an old childcraft set from the 1950s. And it has all kinds. It has science, it has history. But this is for like the younger set of children. Down here, I have the bookshelf for boys and girls. This is like for more like middle to higher elementary age, and it has all kinds of history, literature, nature and science, art and music. The history of music in here is a lot of fun. Things to make and do, stories and songs. It has songs in here, and even it has hymns, great events and famous people. This right here is an old book set. This is the Golden Book History of the United States. That's another fun one. So I really love these old book sets, and you can get so much from this. You can teach your kids so much from these. Okay, so that's one thing I wanted to show you. The next publisher I want to talk about, or the next series of books, Homebuilders, has some very, very interesting information on American history. These are just a few. The keys to good government and America's godly heritage. Just 2 ideas, lots of good stuff there. Here are 2 books that will also help you with American history from a different viewpoint. The Light and the Glory. This is something from Peter Marshall. You can read this aloud to your kids. Oh my goodness, just the ideas from Columbus himself. That's amazing. And then From Sea to Shining Sea takes it a little bit further. God's Plan for America Unfolds. It's taught from a certain perspective, but I really like it. Charles Coffin. This is from Maranatha Publishers. You can also get these for free online. It is the Boys of 76, Sweet Land of Liberty, The Story of Liberty. And these are excellent books to teach American history, actually kind of like European and American history from a Christian perspective. So this is really, it has the old-fashioned stuff in it. It's really fun. Really good reads right there. Another important publisher that you need to be aware of is going to be the YWAM series of biographies. Now, these are written like at an upper elementary, maybe middle school level, and so they're really easy reads. My kids love these even when they were older. I've loved these even as an older person. We have Ida Scudder, George Washington Carver, Count Zinzendorf. Now, this one, I had a daughter that just would read this over and over again. Jacob de Chazer, Clara Barton, Elizabeth Elliot, and C.S. Lewis. So there are lots of those. Excellent reads, good things to find. You can find these for, old used ones online everywhere. This next set of books is from Bethlehem Books, and they have published, this is The Winged Watchman by Hilda van Stockham. And this is such a fun book, and it's set during World War II in Holland. A lot of fun. It's around Christmas. You learn about some Christmas. It's around Christmas time during the book, so you learn about some Dutch Christmas customs. So that's fun. This is The Mystery of the Periodic Table, and it's written by Benjamin Weicker. I love his books. He's like one of my faves. This is Archimedes and the Door of Science by Jean Bendick. That's a fun read. This is The Hidden Treasure of Glaston. This is, of course, historical fiction, and Bethlehem Books has lots of historical fiction and very Christian, very wonderful. Now, the next publisher is going to be, or the next set of books is going to be the Christian Liberty Nature Readers. And you can find these. These are republished from an original from, I think, the 1920s. And you can find these as well online for sale all over the place. They're easy to obtain. So these are nature readers. So they talk about bugs and all kinds of bees and all kinds of fun things. And they're kind of in different levels. So I think you really like those with your kids. So the next set of books are these kind of, really illustrated and labeled books. These are eyewitness books, but there are different publishers that have created these. This is about tree. This is about a Viking town. And so this is illustrated and labeled, and there's some text and lots of pictures. This is Microlife. This is all about things, microbes and things, kind of creepy. But anyway, kids love this stuff. Okay, this is about weather. This is another eyewitness book. And this is fun to go through. This one is Monet. This is eyewitness art. And there are other publishers, like I said, who've done these, but I have lots of eyewitness and Dorling Kindersley and stuff like that. This is Human Anatomy, and my daughter, she loved this book. So there's all that. So these are books you can use for all kinds of stuff. You can use it as a spine. You can just sit one day and just go through a book and talk about it and read it, and then, go do a notebooking page on it, just for fun. What do you say? Next, we have some Usborne books. And Usborne is one of those publishers that puts out all kinds of stuff. This is the Science Encyclopedia. Here's a Science Experiments book. Here are some Rocks and Fossils. They have all kinds of different titles. Now, these are older, too. You can find these for a cheap price all over the place. This is Castles, Pyramids, and Palaces. This is Latin for Beginners. This is a fun one. Here is The Roman World. Ooh, that's cool, right? Okay. Here is World History, and it has a little bit about everything in here. That's a lot of fun. Here is Time Traveler. This is kind of like more geared towards Britain because Usborne is a British publisher. And that is Usborne. Next, we have some titles from Master Books. Master Books, they have so many interesting... They have curriculum, but I don't really do their curriculum as much as I like their coffee table type books. This one is about the genius of ancient man, which just kind of disproves evolutionary thought that men were, originally cavemen. This is Body by Design. My kids have loved this one. It's kind of like anatomy from a Christian perspective and all the amazing wonders God placed into it. This is the history of medicine. This set my daughter off on wanting to become a doctor. These are kind of overviews. This is an overview of the world of chemistry, the world of physics, the world of biology, planet Earth, and the world around you. And there's also, I think there's mathematics. I think I'm missing one or two of these, but this is a series of exploring. And the illustrations are pretty good. The information is amazing. And it's not really an in-depth study of each. You really wouldn't work for like a college, a college prep class. But if your child's not going to college or they're just trying to figure out who they are, these are great things to give them to learn through. Okay, so this is from a series of Wonders of Creation. This is just the ocean book. There are others. There's like, I think there's geology and all kinds of astronomy and stuff like that. So they just talk about the wonders of the ocean, and they go through all kinds. You could use this for a whole unit study and just have a great time with that. So there are all kinds of titles from Master Books that you can get, and these are great to use for content. Next set of books I want to show you are these from Heritage History. This one I got off of, this is Pinocchio. I got this from Google Books. But anyway, these are ones I've bound myself.
These are from Heritage History, and they are really amazing. They put these in this format. You can print them out and you can bind them this way, and you can use a stapler. I've got really like heavy-duty staplers, and I just put some tape on there. I've done all kinds of different ways. But anyway, some of the major authors are James Otis. I just love his stuff. Calvert of Maryland. He has these little historical fiction things about different characters. Edward Eggleston is another one that's really good. Here's more James Otis that I printed out for American history. Friedrich Winthrop Hutchinson for The Men Who Found America. That's kind of interesting. Stories of American Life and Adventure. That's Edward Eggleston again. Now this, I think these are for our unit study on that we did on the Middle Ages, and I got this from Heritage History as well. This is a Heritage History book this is Page, Squire, Esquire, and Knight for our Middle Ages study. This is Cyrus the Great, and I did this on Canva, by the way. And this is one of those stories of, King Cyrus that I was interested in for a while. I got that of Heritage History. This is a story of the Middle Ages from them. This is When Knights Were Bold. Can you see that? This is another book that I got from them. So that's you can get stuff from Heritage History and bind it yourself. Sometimes I've used just dental floss and a three-ring punch. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. Okay, from them. Now we're going to be talking about biographies. This is Evidence Not Seen. It's a really good Christian biography about a missionary. This is Of Whom the World Was Not Worthy. This is kind of hard to find, but it's about Serbo-Croatia and, former Yugoslavia. It's an amazing book. Okay. Boys of Grit Who Became Men of Honor. I think this is one of those Lamplighter books. Lamplighter books has all kinds of stuff like this. This is The Cross and the Switchblade. This is these are reprinted there. You can find them every place. David Wilkerson. Okay. God's Smuggler. I'm sorry. God's Smuggler. Brother Andrew. Oh my goodness. I had a young child. They loved this book. They read it over and over again. Okay. Charles Finney. That's a biography. The Hiding Place. An autobiographical book by Corrie ten Boom. Amazing book. The Wright Brothers. This is for younger set. And this is from the Landmark books. And Landmark books, if you can find them online, the older ones, they are really, really good biographies for young people to read. And see, it's like an easier to read book. Okay. This is part of the Signature Books collection. And this is Lafayette, the story of Lafayette. So that's a good one. Now, these are more new books that have been published within the last few years. These are voices of young heroes from World War II. This was so engaging. I had so much fun reading this to my children. Voices of Ordinary Heroes. These were both written by Kelly Milner Halls. So this is something to look for that you might enjoy. And here is one from, I have another one of these. This is from Mott Media. And the Sower series. This is Susanna Wesley. I find this kind of dry to read, but they're filled with lots of good information. So if you wanted to use this and then go off and do more interesting things on this subject, you could use these for that. Here's the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. This is an old copy that I've had for years. But these, you can get this new, you can get this used, you can get this free online. And this is really important to read about American history. Here is the autobiography of George Mueller. Oh, I loved reading. I read this last year. This is a lot of fun. Very encouraging read. And here, last of all, of the ones I have here, is the autobiography of the story of the Trapp family singers. This is written by Maria von Trapp, and it's, The Sound of Music. She's the lady in the mama in The Sound of Music. So it is so fun to read this book. It's so encouraging too. She has so much good insight about family life and godliness, and it's just more than just a historical novel. But it is a historical novel too. Now I'm going to go into some miscellaneous books. This is the Evolution Handbook. This is so scientific. I mean, and they actually have chapters with activities suggested in here. You could use this as an entire science curriculum. And it's actually here to refute evolution. But it goes into all different parts of science. And you can find this for free online, or you can order it. It's pretty cheap, as I remember. I don't know if they still do, but you used to be able to order this from the company itself. Let's see. It was published by Evolution Facts Incorporated. I don't know what, okay, evolutionfacts.org, if you can see here. Anyway, it's a good book. Okay, this is Mr. Benjamin Weicker. As I said, I love his books. This is 10 books that screwed up the world. Read this. Have your teens read it. Just really enjoy this book. It's a very important book for every Christian to read. This is Superabundance. This is not a Christian book, but it talks about how our world is not overrun with it has all kinds of statistics and interesting viewpoints. It's very pro-life, pro-baby. I like this one, so I put it in there for older kids and for you too. Okay, Familiar Animals by McGuffey. Now this is included in Dollar Home Schools DVDs or in the digital download. I didn't even know this. You can find this for free online too. McGuffey wrote all about little animals, and this is like a supplement to his readers. And this is a lot of fun to read for kids and for me too. Now, this is a book. This is just an example of a book. More Power to You. This is all about energy, and it's not a school book. It's just like this book that kids might like to read, and I don't know if this is a series or what, but my daughter read it, and it was a lot of fun. It explained electricity in kind of a fun way. This is another one of those books that, you know, it's like a coffee table book. We had everything but money. This is about life during the Great Depression and what everybody did during that time. This is an important study for kids because we need to learn about when hard times come, how people react. You know, it's a very positive, upbeat book. This, I have a daughter who ate this book up. This is the useful book. You can find this. I got this at Barnes & Noble like 5 years ago or something. And this book, it tells you, it says 201 life skills they used to teach in home ec and shop. This is a really good book just to go through, maybe pick something and just do it and talk about it, or you can just hand it to a teen and say, read this. Have fun with it. My daughter loved this book, so the useful book, that's a good one. This is, along that same line, this is Mrs. Dunwoody's Excellent Instructions for Homekeeping, and I have found this is a very sweet book, and it just talks about homemaking. Very fun, just one of those fun coffee table type books that you can use as a school book, yes. And now for our next pile of miscellaneous books. This is kind of a staple in homeschooling circles, especially those who love Charlotte Mason. This is the Handbook of Nature Study by Anna Botsford Comstock. And it's like a reference book for everything nature, everything animal. It is just an amazing reference book. You can even take chapters in this and use them as a unit study. It's very versatile, so fun. This is Marguerite Henry's Album of Horses. Now, she wrote books like Misty of Chincoteague, you know, and they're horse stories. So if you have a young girl, especially young girls that love horses, I did this with my young girl who loved horses. I had her just read a chapter and do a notebooking page about each type. Like here's the Mustang and the Appaloosa. So I had her do that. So that was her school book. Okay. Here is the Chronicle of America. This is kind of hard to find. This is very, very fun. It has different tidbits of different times in American history, and they're written as if they were in a newspaper. So they're written as newspaper articles. Where cotton is king and the slave is his subject, wheels of industry propel economy in the North. On Hollywood ground, Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, and it goes all the way through, and it's just like different. It's really a fun book. I had a daughter who this was like one of her favorite books for American history. This is George Washington's World by Genevieve Foster, and she has put a lot of work into showing what was going on all over the world during the time of George Washington. These are a lot of fun to read. This is something you can still find. I'm not sure that, you know, because they're obviously, no, this isn't part of it, CDs. Okay, this is 700 Years of Classical Treasures. And what it does is it explains the different periods of what we call classical music, which classical was a period of music, right? Within the classical, what we call classical music. But anyway, it talks about the different major composers and like the tenor of the different music during those ages. And it's really a lot of fun. If you can find it or something like it, you can use with your kids to teach them about really good music. Here is our last stack of books. This is a Reader's Digest book. Back to Basics, and this teaches all about like building a cabin, a garden, fruit trees, like a solar oven, you know, taking care of dairy cows, making cheese, animal husbandry. It talks about everything in here. And this is an older book. I think they have more updated ones, but Reader's Digest, especially the older books, are really, there's so many different titles. Let me show you another one. This is the Complete Guide to Sewing that they published, and this really doesn't go out of date except maybe in a few areas. It teaches how to use a pattern, different parts of a garment, different ways to sew them, machines and all kinds of stuff. It's really these are really good reference books to have around. This is the ABCs of Nature. This is also an older Reader's Digest book, but it goes through just about everything about nature, and it has how to identify plants. Here's potatoes, right? Talks about the animal world. Now, this is from an evolutionary perspective, but it still has lots of good information. These are different hatchlings and animals and all kinds of fun stuff in here. That's when you can get this. This is America's Providential History. I got this from, let's see, Providence Press, and it has so many really cool miracles that happened at the founding of our country. That's a lot of fun. This is Whatever Happened to Penny Candy. This is an Uncle Eric book. It explains the economy to someone, and it's a lot of fun. This is really good to read. This is King Alfred's English. This is like one of my favorite things that I recommend to everyone. This is the history of the English language. It's fascinating. It's well done. Lori White was a homeschool teacher, and there are actually questions for the end of the chapters and tests even that you can get free online for that. This is just a random book that we found someplace at a garage sale or something. This is the Quarterly Journal of Military History. If you have a boy and he loves, soldiering and wars and everything like that, you can pick up all kinds of books like this for him to enjoy. This is Where They Go in Winter. This is an old-fashioned book about just animals and what they do in wintertime. It's really well illustrated. It's very, very sweet. You can find these at old library sales. This is from a set of books called American Heritage Junior Library. This is about cowboys, but there are many, many other titles. And this is one of those types of books that we overlook as really having a lot of educational value. But my son loved this book. Okay, this is David Macaulay's The Way Things Work. And this is fascinating stuff about pumps and steam and lighting and all kinds of good things. This is The 4th of July Story by Alice Dalgleish. I loved this when I was a little girl. And it's easy to read, and it's something that little kids can enjoy when everybody else, all the big kids, are learning about all American history. This is something they can enjoy. Now, here's my last set of books that I wanted to show you. And these I found online. They are the first book of series. And I found this is the first book of trees. And this is the first book of birds. And as you can see, they have a lot of interesting information. It's kind of like for younger children, and so it's something they can participate in. This is the first book of stones, which is, it's evolutionary at the beginning, but still a lot of fun. They have a lot of interesting information. And this one is the first book of water, which is interesting, right? Scientific and all fun. And this is the first book of bees. Oh yes, bees are so important, aren't they? So of course, when you're doing all your studies, there are videos and movies and experiences to enhance everything you want to learn in the content area. And it's a good way to give everybody a real feast. Now, what is the point of all this? Don't limit yourself. It's okay to have a general direction, but be flexible. Allow God to lead you as you thoroughly enjoy yourselves. Okay. Next time, like I said, we're going to learn how to put this feast into practical manifestation. So, until then, please be blessed to go onto my website, momdelights.com, and take advantage of all my freebies. Listen to the other podcasts or watch the other podcasts in this series so that you can get, the full picture. And you have a wonderful day in Jesus. Bye-bye.